Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of After the Well, and I'm really excited because I have a new to me friend that I met through School of Kingdom, which you guys always hear me talk about, SOK, and her name is Keadron, and I'm excited because I don't know a whole lot about Keadron, and so today is going to be as new and fun for me as it is for you. So, like I said, I don't have a big long introduction because I don't really know Keadron. But being a Facebook stalker and watching her life over the last year, she's purchased a house and some life-changing events and all the things that I will let her talk about. I really, really look forward to hearing her story and for her sharing with all of us just how her well moments happen. Y'all know that this podcast is just conversations based on how we hang out with Jesus every day. Like he did with the woman at the well. She came to get water and left being the first evangelist. So there's something to be said for encountering Jesus in our everyday life. And so, hi, Keadron.
Hi, Melissa.
Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm in the same boat as you because I don't know you very well either, except for Facebook stalking. Yeah, it's been good to watch you do some journeying as well. And my name is Keadron Petrone, and I have been a life coach now for about 5 years. I attended the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, so I'm a certified integrative nutrition health coach, which is just a big fancy title for life coach, because it's really all encompassing of wellness of the body, mind, and spirit. Prior to that, I was a hairstylist for 20 plus years. I was married, and my husband actually died by suicide this past January. So there has been a ton of happenings in my life. And yes, I did. You're correct. I did buy a house. About 6 months after he passed, I ventured out and bought a little house, this tiny little house, and it's old and it needed lots of work. And so there was kind of there's been this reconstructing of my life that's been happening, and it's been quite the journey. And in the midst of the journey, shortly after he passed, I had started writing on Facebook just these posts. And the first one I just wrote real, raw, and random because there were so many things I wanted to say, and I didn't know how to get them out. And so I just plopped them in a post, just sort of to vent, and the next thing you know, people are messaging me about, oh my word, you don't know how much you saved me. I felt like this too. Or, wow, I've been thinking, I've struggled with suicidal ideation, and the messages I've been getting have blown my mind. I have been 100% surprised by how much people were resonating with what I was saying. And I think I'm close to about 50 posts now. I am writing a book, so I'm working on that. And I am also in the midst of launching my own podcast. So there's a lot of things happening right now in my life that are pretty wild. So that's kind of me in a great big nutshell.
Coconut, big nutshell.
Yes. Coconut's a great description, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. So, gosh, there are so many ways I could go and so many questions I want to ask, but I want to be, sensitive to where, Holy Spirit wants to lead us for listeners' sake, because I really could sit and just chat for hours, because I'm an external processor. I'm a question asker. I am also a life coach, and so asking questions to getting people to talk is something I'm good at.
Yeah, me too.
So let's go back though Because, okay, so how long have you been part of SOK?
So I've been part of SOK for 2 years. This is year 2.
Okay.
I've had a rough start this year because of just the moving and the process and all of that. So I'm sort of trying to play catch up a little bit at this point. But that definitely shifted my... Deconstructing religion is like an understatement.
Right. I think it is for all of us, and people were like, what kind of cult is this? And now, we're automatically heretics because, we're not all about being denominational, and even non-denominational, they've made a denomination,
Yeah.
So
Created their own.
Yeah, right. So what was your prehistory? Pre-SOK history. Did you grow up denominational? What was that like?
I'm going to be really blunt and describe it as a Baptist cult.
Sure.
Because that's really what it was. Very, let's get you in here and let's get you having your God moment, and and then we'll modify your behavior for you. Mm-hmm. Is basically kind of how. And I grew up in a school that was associated, it was a Baptist school. So it was the church and the school kind of were sisters, and they were under the umbrella of the church. And
how old were you? Was this young?
Oh, this was from kindergarten all the way up to
okay.
Yeah. So my whole life was through this, arena. Cult. I was trying to use
Sorry, not sorry on this podcast. People already know that.
No, it's true. Let's call it what it is. It is a cult, and it really it messed me up. I mean, and I'm not, I work under the understanding now that I can grab the fact that many of these people are simply emulating what they were also taught.
Sure. Sure.
So I've learned to have grace for that now. I went through a lot of anger, bitterness towards these people for teaching me wrong, but it was a very confusing time for me because as a teen, especially, as a kid, you notice things, but it doesn't really quite register. Mm-hmm. My parents divorced when I was 8. They separated when I was 8 and they got divorced. So when you go to a Baptist school and church, your parents are set. Wow, you are labeled right away. You're a problem kid. You're going to be nothing but trouble. You're going to be a delinquent, and oh, poor her. Look at her. She's a mess, whatever. So, it really, it created many wounds that were already happening in my private family life. So it just compounded, the amount of wounding that was taking place. And, I'm still learning. We all are all the time, right? But I am still kind of, for lack of a better phrase, sort of finding God for myself, because, not just what I've been through with that upbringing, but then to go through what I've been through just in this past year, and even previous to that, there's been tons of rejection and hardship in my life. And so, but I'm just living proof that you can get through it, and
for sure.
Right. So I just want to help. I guess my primary goal is, and I've just recently kind of done some whittling down, what is it that I really want people to get from me when they encounter me? What do I want them to see? What piece of God do I want them to see in me, And it really, it's hope. I want to plant that seed of hope so that God can do the rest. It's not my job to save the world. I'd love to, but it's not my job. He already did that, right? So it's really just a matter of, trying to use the experiences that have been difficult for me to better show to others what God can do with that, because that's powerful, and I think more people need to see, and that's why I'm not afraid to speak about things like suicide. I'm not afraid to speak up about how I feel about cults, like what I grew up in. It does not faze me one bit to talk about it. It's not always fun, but it's important to, because it gives other people strength to then do the same thing, you know?
Yeah. So on the daily, what is it that you think what is a core truth? What is it, the one thing, two things that you believe gives you the strength and the courage? Because I know for the woman at the well, obviously for her it was identity, right? Because her first thing is, you have to come see this guy who told me everything about me, i.e., he knows me.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, what are some of the promises, some of your moments? Because I know, and I'm not throwing shade on scripture or anything like that. Bible's great, we can memorize all the scripture we want, but we have to have those moments where God just said something to my heart. There's character references in scripture that can support it, but man, this is what he told me in my heart. What are some of those, if you want to share some of those?
Oh, yeah, there have been a lot of really great moments. I think it's really easy to overlook, or maybe even miss is a better word, the people and little moments that God puts in front of us that are him through this person or this thing or whatever, or moment or song or whatnot. I love hearing from God in very different ways. I thoroughly enjoyed and have enjoyed, I haven't watched all of it, but I remember very well the Chosen, the show The Chosen, and when the woman at the well, that scene, and it's the first, it's really beautiful when you can actually see an actual physical depiction, of that, and you can kind of like, wow, I wonder if that's like, just what I love about that is it's not just that he knew everything about me. It's that he knew everything about me and still loved me. It was more than just he knew everything about me.
Yeah.
It was that she had acceptance, even though he knew everything about her. So he knew maybe she didn't live the best life. Maybe she messed up. Maybe she got with the wrong men or whatever. The bottom line is it comes back to rejection. She felt rejected by multiple people. And it's funny because I had an aha moment yesterday, actually. And a lot of people know this already. I'm not hiding it or anything, but I have been dating a really wonderful guy. And it happened relatively quickly. Within 2 months after is when I met him from my husband's passing. And that took me by surprise, because it wasn't like I was, I was just curious about the dating scene, and that just opened a door, and I was like, I don't think I like this door.
Right.
And then I met this guy, and I was like, wait, who is this guy? And it just sort of, formed, and it was really beautiful. But last night we're watching this parade. The area I moved to has this great town, and it's got this, every year they've got this Halloween parade, right? So I have my kids out there.
What? You went to a Halloween parade as a Christian? What?
No. Yeah. Heresy. So anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
That's a whole nother episode.
That's a whole other podcast right there. But so my boyfriend actually lives right down the street. So we were at his house in front watching the parade, but it was raining. So he had this giant umbrella. He had gone inside, got this giant umbrella, and I'm standing under his umbrella, and I'm thinking about this. I'm like, this is so sweet. He's literally for like an hour holding this umbrella over me to make sure I don't get wet. And I was thinking about God, and I was thinking about how I was under my boyfriend's love and protection. And that is literally what God does for us. He kind of walks around with this umbrella over us, protecting us, right? And so as that came up for me, and the reason why I had this aha moment was because a couple of days ago, this past week and a half maybe, have been pretty rough. I hit some really heavy depression, lots of anxiety. I've been struggling with some anxiety attacks and things like that. And but I've also really struggled with a lot of family members in my life. And, I've had to distance myself from a couple of people. One in particular, major influence in my life. And it dawned on me, and I made a literal separation. This is going to sound really funny, but I actually blocked her on Facebook. And I was like, and it sounds like a dumb thing. I know it's probably,
but it's not. No, I just had to do that.
Yeah. But you have to, because here's the thing. I've gotten to this point now where, like, okay, I'm the only parent right now for my kids. I have to take care of my mental health. I have to be healthy in every way. Doesn't mean I have to have it perfect. It just means I need to take proper steps to take care of my body, my spirit, my health, everything, right? So I started to take a really hard look. What are the things that are the most triggering to me? What are the things or people or whatever that are most triggering? And how do I eliminate them from my life right now? Doesn't mean forever, but right now. And this person was one of them. And it's weird because as I was standing there last night under the umbrella of my boyfriend, I'm thinking about God. I'm thinking about how symbolic that is. And then I got this vision. And the vision was of me standing under an umbrella, and this particular person plus many other people that had rejected me and hurt me were surrounding me as I was standing under this umbrella. And then over here, just a few feet away, is my boyfriend with his umbrella, motioning for me to come over to him. And this was just a super symbolic, vision that I had. And I thought to myself, as I watched myself step out from under the umbrella of that rejection, because that's what it was all the people that had abandoned me or rejected me. I stepped out from that and stepped under the new umbrella. And when I did that, I could actually tangibly feel a sense of freedom happening and brewing. I could feel it was a spiritual moment, an aha moment that awakened me to the understanding of how much that level of rejection that has gone on literally my entire life. Yeah. That's literally almost all I've known is this some level of rejection from this person, that person, this place, whatever, church hurt, all that stuff. You sort of get to this point where you're like, it's scary. It's actually scary to leave that because you're so used to being crapped on all the time.
Exactly.
You're just like, what's it like? How could I possibly love myself that much how does God even love me that much? What about all these people? It's like you go through all this, processing, and then you realize you start to kind of allow yourself to accept a different possibility. Maybe I'm not really rejected. Maybe I'm not. Maybe he sees me and still loves me. Just like even my boyfriend, he could be like, because I told him when we got together, I was like, listen, my husband I don't know what you're doing here, but you can go, you have a pass if you want, because look at me, I'm a mess, but he stayed. And that's the thing, like, and I'm not trying to paint my boyfriend out like he's God or anything like that, but I'm just saying there's a lot of symbolism to the way God sees us. Is like, he looks at our mess and he's like, come here, come under my umbrella. Like, let me hold you. Let me cover you, you know?
Well, I think it, a good way, because I wrote this, when you said that, I got a little picture of
Oh my gosh, I love
of the
that.
stick people, because I didn't want to interrupt the flow and go, oh my God, this is what I just saw. But because you said that, God was the umbrella, and, and you were standing there, and the way I saw the picture for you, and I think this is a prophetic word for you. And for those of you listening who may not understand what prophetic is or have never heard the word prophetic and what that means, it simply means that God talks to everybody. And this is what I heard him say. Completely valid, completely biblical. God still talks to people today. It did not stop with the disciples and all of that heresy, that true heresy, that were taught by denominational cultish churches. But I digress. But what I saw, because you said that you had the moment like that God was the umbrella. And I think it's really cool because you've always been under that umbrella. Your perspective needed to change to see that umbrella as God. Yeah. And then God, he allows different people to come stand under your umbrella with you. And right now, for this season, however long it may be, is your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because I believe God knew that you needed a man in this season. Mm-hmm. Because what happened to you was done by a man. So I think there's a little redemption in that, a little comfort in that. But just that your perspective changed from being surrounded by all this crappy people, judging you and whatever, to, oh, no, they're out there and I'm under the umbrella of God.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was just a really cool picture. But umbrellas are not very big.
Right.
And so even a beach umbrella, they're 10 foot?
Yeah.
Maybe you could fit 5 people under that umbrella?
Yeah.
Which also is another lesson that not everybody should be under our umbrella.
Right.
If they're out from under covering, that's on them.
Yeah. You're so right. It's so true. Yeah. And I just love, I love the door that I feel like has opened because of that realization. Just like I think we were talking earlier about the woman at the well and how she was so excited. She ran away like, he knows everything about me. And I was telling you, like, it's not just that he knew everything about her. It was that he knew everything about her and loved her and accepted her and covered her. Mm-hmm. And, it was very beautiful and intentional on the part of Jesus to be sure that she understood the level of acceptance that she was getting. It wasn't just like, oh, he knew all this stuff. Well, yeah, that's cool. That's great. That's amazing that he knew all that stuff. But that's just the beginning of what happened with her. And that's why I love that story so much, because he took rejection, changed it, and then put a mouthpiece on her.
Yeah.
So that she could go and be confident in herself, in her acceptance from him, that she could speak.
Well, and it was very, very personal. It was just the two of them.
Yes.
We don't know. And truly, we don't know why she was there at noon. She could be a clothes washer and she was going for her second or third trip of water for the day to do laundry.
Sure.
Or a cook and she needed more water and whatever, we don't know. There is researching this for the last 2.5 years. There is no history on this woman until she has a conversation. Like in Jewish history, in Samaritan history, nothing, because she was a Samaritan, right? And which also the dregs of society, the low of the low, all the things that this whole entire encounter represent and symbolize, just so he could say, I see you and I love you.
Yes.
And that's all she needed. She did not need the justification or the acceptance of an entire crowd. She did not need the 12 disciples and Jesus.
Right.
You know? And we get in this mindset that everybody at my church has to accept me, or my work, or, you know, like all my circle of soccer mom friends, you know? No. Even Jesus only needed 12.
Right.
To hang out with him.
Yeah.
And even then, he sent them 2 by 2. Because if you can handle one person, girl, I'm preaching now, handle one person standing under your umbrella of covering with you,
yes,
where can you go and what can you do? You know? We get it in our psyche, especially in this country, because America is the product of America, and you know, it has to be bigger, better, faster, shinier, more. You know, it has to sparkle. We have to have a bazillion followers and influencers and all of these things, when it's your life is shit right now. You have no friends, you know, you're divorced, you're this, you're that, your boyfriend broke it, you know, whatever. You don't even know if you want to be male or female. You know, I mean, like, we have to start cutting away all the things to get back down to, oh, hey, Jesus.
Yeah.
All right, let's hang out today. I don't need a conference. I don't need, you know, a women's event or a men's event or all the things. And we've made our acceptance so many things that it should not be.
Right. We're looking to the wrong sources
always,
all the time. And I think a lot of the reason why we do that is because we want something tangible that we can hold or look at or see, because a lot of times our faith is being rooted in a way that requires that kind of tangible thing, you know, or person or whatever. It's really easy to get fixated on that. But again, that goes back to rejection. I was thinking about how many things in my life have I struggled with because of the root of rejection. I had posted something the other day that I heard in a song. It was in a song called In the Room. And I want to say it's like Bethel Music or something. But anyway, Tasha Cobbs is one of the singers in that. And she said, in the middle of her testimony, she said, depression is a branch off the root of rejection. And I was like, my brain was like, oh my word, wow. And then I started thinking about all of the other things that come off of the root of rejection: codependency, depression, anxiety, you know, physical, when you hold, you know, emotions, and then you get dis-ease in your body because of that. There's so many pieces to that stem from that rejection. So if you're depressed and you have anxiety, maybe look at how you're feeling about rejection. I mean, that's a whole other, we could go into a whole other podcast about that. But I love that we can take this piece that we're holding, this aha, and generate conversation around that opens the door for somebody else to look at the things that they may be struggling with. I mean, I didn't just take a hard look at, like, because right now I'm in a transition. I have no tribe. I know people say, like, oh, my tribe. I don't have a tribe. I don't have a tribe. I don't know who these people are, but I'm not finding them anywhere.
Right.
I mean, I have people that read my posts, which is great. Maybe that's what's classified as a tribe, but I have very few friends. I do. I have I have friends, and then I have like my very tight little circle, and there's maybe 3 people in it right now.
Your umbrella friends?
Yeah, my umbrella friends. And it's really interesting how when you prioritize your spiritual and emotional health, and you you become willing to do anything it takes to get yourself spiritually and emotionally healthy, things have to change. There's no way around that. You have to be able to flow and shift, because the transition that's on the other side of that, the spiritual and energetic shift that's on the other side of that is so powerful and so life-changing. You don't want to miss that, and I think people do, because they're so busy looking for all the other sources of approval so they don't feel rejected. And really, that's what this world is struggling with. This world is riddled with the spirit of rejection.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, and it comes, if you think about it, it comes down to religion, because you can never do anything correct.
Right.
I mean, all the way back to Jesus. They fought about who was right, and circumcised, not circumcised, this and that. And so there's been rejection since about the beginning of time. Adam and Eve, and, whoever else was there, and just we're constantly searching, and our social media doesn't help, and just our broken education system. We need the manifestation of kingdom on earth so badly. And
how do we do that? I mean, the one thing that has really been, I heard last year, I heard Brian Orm.
I love Brian Orm. For those of you guys who want some cutting edge, quasi mystical teaching that will hurt your brain.
Yes, in a good way.
Find Brian Orm. Orm, O-R-M-E.
Yep, he's amazing. He's almost mesmerizing too in the way that he speaks.
Yeah.
He's so calm, and so just the way he puts words together is really like every sentence is like, wow, wait a second. Can you give me 5 minutes to absorb that before you move on to the next sentence? But he said something that I will never forget. And it was in one of the classes that he taught for SOK last year 1. And he said it was about honor. It was about honoring people. And I never fully understood the word honor until he said it the way he said it. And I know I'm going to mess it up because I'm not going to remember exactly how he said it. But it was basically, the bottom line was, honor is the ability to see a person for who they are right now, and holding space for that, and loving them for who they are right now, while at the same time understanding that they have a Christ-like identity that they may not be fully walking in yet. And having love and holding space for both of those parts of them, those areas of where they are, the in-between even of being the person they are now and the person that their God-given identity. If we, as a culture, could simply honor people better and love them for where they are, there wouldn't be so much feeling of rejection.
Yeah.
Because people would be able to honor one another and love them. Doesn't mean we have to agree with what they're doing or how they're living their life or whatever. But if we can honor them for who they are now and have that understanding of what their identity truly is, we can't be, it's just like these people that I've had to remove from my life. I love them. There's no question. I love them. That's not the problem. Love is not the problem. It's the fact that, yes, I see what's happening in them. I can see what their God-given identity is, and I can see they're not in it yet. Likewise, I may not be in it yet, I'm getting there, but everyone has their own journey, right? Mm-hmm. But what I love about that is it makes it a little easier to, not that you're excusing bad behavior or allowing yourself to be a doormat or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about having compassion, because ultimately that's what Jesus did, right? He was on this earth. He gave the most compassion anybody could ever see. He emulated that. so well, compassion. And so it allows us to have compassion for people and understand that primarily when they behave that way, it's actually from that spirit of rejection.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? I know I kind of went on the sun.
No, that's absolutely true. And just in my story, and you just know part of it because of, the group that I've asked you to be in and stuff, but, leaving a church recently, I have no hate for them. I love them. I love them a lot. But I can't be part of their journey right now.
Right.
I had to block them. As the pastor of that church. We had a meeting, and the day after there was some posts about walking away from conflict and not staying and sticking it out, and I'm like, oh, blocked. I didn't unfriend them because in my heart I'm like, I don't want to burn a bridge, because I absolutely believe in reconciliation. I believe in restoration. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to be an asshole to put up boundaries. Right. I can walk away. Blocking is not a problem. Why do we let social media rule our relationships?
Right. It's not real life.
It's not, but also, like you said, I had to, in that moment, because I was mad. I left mad. I left angry because I was so hurt. And the accusations that came at me, and the presumptions, which they were projections onto me. And I'm like, I never said that. I never asked for that. I never did that. But all of these things came at me, and I was just like, I'm done. I cannot do this. And the one thing for my mental health and emotional health was to block them. I could not even see their name come up in Facebook. Right. Because it triggered, and it didn't allow me to. Had I stayed connected and still saw their name come up in the posts that contradicted the way I was being treated, the hypocrisy in those posts, I personally believe that there would have been bitterness built up in me, and like, what's the point? God, why am I trying to hang on to this relationship when they're like this? Right. And so we have to do that. And listeners and people, you've got to understand, it's okay. It's okay to say no to people. It's okay to cut them off, even if they're your family. And especially if they're your family, because your family think they have extra special rights to speak in your life and to say things and to judge you and to all of these things. And it's not okay. It is not okay. So I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, self-preservation has to be key, with the caveat of you can't lock yourself in a cave and expect things to change all by yourself. You have got to have healthy relationships. Yes. Reaching out to just that one friend or even a stranger. If you have followed someone on social media and I wouldn't say a complete stranger, but like me reaching out to Keadron, or me reaching out to a couple other people like Bianca. Go back and listen to Bianca's podcast. She was pivotal for me. Or Shauna. I know you've talked to Shauna as well.
I love Shauna.
Seeing at least one or two people in your circle that, okay, I will not close my heart entirely. I have to keep my heart open, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do that. And I believe the woman at the well, I think her heart was still open. Even the rejection and the things that people might have said to her, we don't know why she was married 5 times. Did the husbands die? There were sects of SECTS, not SEX. There were sects of Samaritans who believed in divorce. So you had throwaway women. Was she a throwaway wife? Whatever. And at some point, she's just like, screw it. I'm just going to live with this guy. We don't know how old she was. We know nothing about her. And yet, look at all the things that religion and the church has put on her.
Right.
I've heard some like really far-fetched and even dumb analogies and stories of like, she wasn't a prostitute, she wasn't she was just a person in a circumstance beyond her control because she was a woman in society who didn't value women, and we often find ourselves in living this just crap life because of all the things that other people it's that rejection, all of these things that you get worn down by. It's like dripping water,
right?
And right. It's so, and that's why I doing this podcast for me is giving people a voice, because everybody's got different stories and everybody's going to receive from people differently, which is why I love a variety of testimonies, because I don't care who you are listening. You are not alone, and you are not the only person going through what you're going through. I don't care who is saying what to you about who they think you are. Mm-hmm. Sit at the well and get a drink from Jesus, And actually, they didn't even drink. Do you realize that? She never drank water, and he never drank water. There was never any water in the interaction,
Right.
She still walked away, and he said, "I'm full." With no elemental exchange of water.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But keeping your heart open to, you are not the sum of the things spoken over you or to you or about you, unless it comes from Jesus. And finding those people that can get under your umbrella, that hear Jesus, and can speak that kind of life into you.
Yeah.
I think that,
Well, and to go back a little bit to some things that you said, to comment on that, is, a lot of, like, for instance, you, were angered by what you saw from this person the day after you, left the church, and it felt hurtful. And here's what's really interesting about that. You made an active choice, though, to not accept that as rejection.
Yeah.
And that's what we make. We make a big mistake, and it's not, through any necessarily fault of our own. It's just something that we do because when someone rejects us, I mean, look, let's be real, okay? My husband dying by suicide doesn't leave me with a feeling of acceptance at all. It makes me feel rejected. It's like, wow, so he just chose to leave this. And I could easily sit here, and I've wrestled with it, I'm being honest and saying I wrestled with it. But it would be easy for me to sit there and go, you know what? He didn't love me. He didn't love me at all. He must have hated me. He must have wanted out of our marriage. He must have.
Or your kids.
Right.
I mean, he had more reasons to be here.
Oh, yeah, I know. But see, the thing is that it's easy to accept that rejection, right? Because I can't understand why he made his choice. I can't understand that. I can, kind of grab a few things, but I can't understand that level of self-loathing and pain that he could make that choice. That doesn't compute in my brain, right? And because that doesn't compute in my brain, my coping mechanism is to look for something else. Well, it's easy to go, well, it must be me. Must have been me. Must have been my fault. I must not have been a good enough wife. I must not have been whatever. And it would be so easy for me to pick that up and carry it like it's my suitcase,
And a lot of people do.
A lot of people do. For not just that, I mean, that's just an example, but people do that all the time. I did that growing up. Well, I must not be good enough. That's why they're looking at me like that, or that's why they're treating me that way, or that's why this part, it's so easy to do that. And it's funny because, and this is kind of a hard thing to say, because it's not like I'm trying to come down on anybody, but I'm going to say it really bluntly. Half the problem with our world and people who are constantly living in this state of rejection is our own dang fault.
Yep.
Because we accept the rejection. Yep. It's projected on us. That part's not our fault.
Yep.
But the part that is our responsibility, where we have to start taking extreme ownership over that, is where we accept that as something that is ours. That's like somebody sticking a name tag that has our name and address on it on a piece of luggage that doesn't belong to us and handing it to us in the airport saying, here, you carry that. Mm-hmm. No, that shit ain't mine. I'm not going to carry that.
Right?
No. This is where we have the power of no, and we don't use it, and it becomes this, we end up taking ownership of things that don't belong to us, that we're never meant to carry in the first place. Yeah. And so that, it's really, rejection can be overpowering, really. Sure. It can just,
it's hard. You have to be absolutely intentional.
Yes.
About, and sadly, and I don't want to, I'm just going to slam on America. We don't know how to do that. In our culture, there is no such thing as personal responsibility, and there hasn't been for many, many years. Yeah. Everything is someone else's fault, and normally it's the government's fault, or it's my teacher's fault, or it's this person's fault, and it's like, no, you have to put up your hand and say no at some point. Stop. Let me do me. But it's so hard. It is hard. It is painful, and it's hard. And because we are created for fellowship and unity, and we crave it so much, and yet we live in such a culture, especially with all the cancel stuff that's happening in our culture right now here in America, that I see spreading to other parts of the world rampantly, that you can't have an opinion, you can't be different, you can't say no, and all of these things. And, so if you're listening and you feel hopeless right now, it's like, I can't do that. I can't say no to my mom. I can't say no to my husband. I can't say, you can't, you can. Yeah. Just do it. It's going to be hard, and it might get ugly for a minute, but we have got to get to the point where we value ourselves like Christ values us. Right. Because I guarantee you that person talking shit about you is not going to die for you. Right. But Jesus did, and we have to get that in our heart. Right. And that gives us strength and hope and courage to say, you know what? I can't be friends with you on Facebook anymore. I can't talk to you anymore. Or even just, hey, I need some space for a minute. I cannot tell you the number of friends that I have lost because I'm like, you know what? I need some space. We're just getting too close too fast, or this or that. And, well, aren't you just all high and mighty? I'm like, well, maybe I am. See ya. It's, I just lost a friend in this whole situation leaving the church. And I asked her, it's so petty. But I Marco Polo'd her, and I was like, hey, I feel there's just something coming between us. It's been a couple months, and this was like back early August. And I was like, it doesn't have anything to do with, kids going back to school and all that, because this has been happening for quite a while. And she's like, yeah, I just got busy, and you looked at me funny at church one day, and I just don't know anymore. And I'm like, sorry, life's hard, was literally my text response. I didn't even bother to Marco Polo. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry this summer was hard for you. I hope it gets better. Yeah. And I've not said one word to her since, because I don't need that kind of drama put on me. I don't need to babysit someone. Now, if God put it in my heart to continue to reach out, that's one thing. Right. But for me, people got to be receptive. Yeah. Did I take that as rejection of me? I did. I was like, okay, so all I heard in her Marco Polo was she did not have time for me. That's all she said, because she said it several times. Anything else added to my schedule was such a burden. So I heard, I'm a burden to her. I'm a burden to her schedule. I'm a burden to her social everything.
Right.
But I chose to do the hard thing and suck it up and go, you know what, God? I really, really enjoyed that person. I love her. If she was to walk up to me today and apologize, we could be friends again because we would have a conversation about what happened.
Right.
But God said, you know what? It's okay. There are other people that will take her place. You know, we hang on to certain relationships like we're going to die if we're not friends with them.
Yeah.
You know, and then we, like you said, the rejection is our own fault because we're trying to make something happen that shouldn't be happening.
Right.
So, of course, there's going to be kickback and rejection.
Absolutely. And here's the funny thing, too, to go even deeper with that rejection, is that she actually isn't rejecting you.
She's missing out on me.
She's missing out on you. But what's so interesting about that is that when you really think about it, it's the rejection that's within them. And about themselves, and they are simply projecting that onto you because you pull something out that requires them to step up and to elevate. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if she's not able to elevate with you, she can't go with you.
Yeah.
She you know what I mean? So it's really interesting, the different facets of rejection. There's so many pieces, you know? And so really, we think people are rejecting us. They're not actually rejecting us.
Yeah.
It has nothing, it actually doesn't have a single thing to do with us.
Right.
It has to do with, now someone, you know, everybody gets along, you know, some people get along better than others, and some people just don't mesh. Their personalities just don't mesh. And that's not rejection on anybody's part. It's just two people don't necessarily get along, and that's okay too. But like, that's what I think is something that we also miss a lot of. We take it so personal. And that's one thing that I'm learning too, is to not take it so personal. But I'm also not going to allow you to step on me either.
Exactly.
So there's a fine line there. It can be tricky, but it can be done if we start looking at people for who they are and where they are. And that's where their honor comes in. We realize their rejection of us more is a reflection of the rejection that's going on in their heart.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know what I mean, what we think they're seeing in us. It's not like they're looking at us and we're damaged. It's not that way, you know.
Yeah, it's just their own filter, and we could have a whole podcast about all of this all on its own, right? Just the different.
There's like 3, 4, 5 topics we touched on here.
Just like emotional intelligence. But bottom line is, we have to be intentional about managing us and our own emotions, what we allow to come at us, what we give off, you know, because there is personal responsibility too.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. I mean, because like I give you kudos because you haven't, I mean, I love your real, raw, and random posts, but they're also thought out. I guess it's not like, because there are some people that go through something and they just vomit all their stuff on social media. And you're just like, yeah, you didn't think about that before you wrote that, did you? You know? Good or bad. It's like, you should probably reel it in a little bit and just talk and process. That, y'all, listeners, social media is not therapy. It is not for processing. It is not. Don't do that. Do yourself a service and don't put your junk on the internet. Just don't. Process it first, and then whatever you've boiled it down to, if you want to put it out there to get some opinion, you know, you do you. But damn, stop throwing everything out for the whole wide world to judge you by. Because really, you're setting yourself up for more criticism or, you know, it doesn't matter what you're doing. There are haters out there that are going to hate out of their own hate, out of their own woundings and all of that. stuff, all
Right.
their filters.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
gosh, our time is already to an end. It's already been an hour. Oh my God. But it's my podcast. We'll talk as long as we want. What is one or two things that you really would like to leave the listeners with? From all the things we've talked about, what are a couple nuggets that you would like to encourage? Like takeaways. I know we said so much.
No, that's a really tough question. If people are rejecting you, it is probably 99.9% them and not you. Typically, yeah, I just feel like people need to hear that, because I think so much we take it personal, and while it's true that some people just don't mesh well together, that's okay. Like it's okay to give people permission that not everybody's going to like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's okay that they don't. It's okay that they may not resonate with you. There's plenty of people I don't resonate with. It doesn't mean I hate them. It doesn't mean I feel rejected by them. And I'm sure they don't feel rejected by me, because they're probably not even thinking about me. They're thinking about their own self or what's going on in their life. So, I mean, I just think someone out there needs to hear, try to look at it from a third person perspective rather than taking it onto yourself and receiving that rejection as though it's yours to carry. Yeah, it's not yours to carry. And that you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, you are not rejected by the one who took the time to form you and create you and put his very breath inside of your lungs. The one who experienced you before he even formed your body. He will not reject you. And it's not always easy to grab that. But if you can just put yourself in and do the visual of, getting under his umbrella and understanding that and feeling that, it can truly change so much of your life. You have no idea how much that can change you if we just stop allowing ourselves, and really it's our own dumbass fault, because we stand there under the wrong friggin' umbrella, and we're just with a whole bunch of people that are just projecting, and it's like, why are we under this one? What the, let's get under the right umbrella and live under that love and that protection. And when we can do that, even if it takes just a visualization of that, start visualizing that for yourself. Start living as though you are already under that umbrella. And it could really vastly change your heart and your perspective and just your love for yourself, Yeah.
That's so good. It's, yeah. We have to do the hard work. Self-management is not easy.
Nope, it's not, but it's so worth it.
It's
so
worth it. So worth it.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the very beginning that you do coaching,
yes,
and all of that. You have a website and stuff for that we can give to the people?
I had one. I had one, and I had been trying to reconstruct it. But I am admittedly going through kind of a name change with that. And so I don't have a website to go to right now. I know that's kind of sucky, but I'm just being honest. But, people can reach out to me. I have I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. All you have to do is look up my name, Keadron Petrone, and I'm there. I have a personal page. I have a business page. My information that you would need to contact me is on my business page.
Okay.
So it's super easy to find me. It's not like my name is very common, so it's not that hard to find me.
Yeah.
People can just reach out if they're interested. And I'm also starting to do coaching for salons, for the staff inside salons, because of my history with being a stylist. And so that's been a really fun door to, have that's been opening up there. I coach on all the aspects of life, and, from health and nutrition to, emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, and all of that. My goal is to just really help people get real and raw with themselves.
Do you do it through KLM or just your own?
No, this is just my own coaching. My own coaching. I've been doing it for 5 years, and I love what I do. I love what I do.
Cool. Well, by the time this show airs, you will probably be up and running, because I think you were in line to go in January. So, for those listening, all the information for Keadron will be in the show notes. Any way to connect with her as well. And then, like I said, at the time of posting, you'll most likely have everything. And your new when are you going to launch your podcast?
So my launch date is November 21st.
Nice.
Tuesday,
Okay.
November 21st.
I might try to get it. I might put you to the front of the line then and see if I can get you to get the just to help promote you with your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do that.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm trying to get a stockpile of videos so that I don't have to do anything during Christmas. So.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here, Keadron. This was fun. I enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah. I had a great time. We could definitely spend hours more talking, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think I'm going to end the podcast because we can talk about other things later. I always forget I'm recording. So I want to say thank you to all the listeners for coming on. If this is your first time, I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you got some takeaways from Keadron, some encouragement. If you have any questions about emotional intelligence, how to set up boundaries, being under the umbrella of your identity, of who Jesus says you are, any of those kinds of things, anything else really, contact me, Melissa at AfterTheWell.org, and all the information will be in the show notes. And if this is not your first time, thank you for coming back. Thank you for being a patron of the show. Either way, I would love for all the listeners to give feedback, to rate the episodes, share them, like them, love them with everybody, because our voices need to be heard. And sometimes there are people out there that need to hear what we say, how we say it, So, again, I just appreciate it. And I look forward to hanging out with you guys on the next podcast.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of After the Well. We hope you really liked it. We would love to hear your feedback. Give us some likes, some reviews, some love. Share it with your friends. All the links and information are in the comments or in the show notes of the episode that you're currently listening to. Thanks, and we look forward to hanging out with you again.